Hello, hello, it's Heather Nature again, here to tell you that I was wrong. Again. I have these like assumptions when I've been using these palettes recently, and I've been wrong, just like in my last one, the last Jeffree Star palette that I had. I received this one in a mystery box, I believe from Beautylish. And so this is the packaging it has. It's literally just an outside carton. There's no box. So it's literally, you just lift up the tabs and then you can take this off. You can throw it away, you can keep it. I like to keep all of my boxes, so I keep the outside of this. And then this is what the actual palette looks like. So yeah, this is a palette. It comes with a little handle. He said it was supposed to be like a purse. I don't know if I really hold it from the handle. Thankfully mine did not break. He also has, I don't know if anyone ever noticed, kind of has these loops right here, which makes me think that if you wanted to buy your own kind of, you know, if you wanted to buy your own strap, then you would be able to do that. And you could buy, I mean, not Jeffree Star brand, I don't think he ever came out with an extra strap, but you could get a strap and just hook it on and then carry this around somewhere else, I guess. But this is the front. You still have some info on the back. It's circular. There is this kind of like a hook, kind of like a box. You just open it like that, just push it open, and then you should be able to pop this open. So once you open it, it has these straps here, which stop it from going all the way back. Unfortunately, which I'm trying to show here, so this strap right here is nice and taut. It's like, you know, it's actually holding it back. This one's loose. Like, look at this wiggle. You see this wiggle? Do you see how much, like, look at the pull back. So they're not even, unfortunately, so it's not as tight as it should have been, I guess. Just wanted to point that out. It's not really much of an issue, but I did want to point that out. I'm trying my best to show this palette on camera, but it's kind of hard. I don't want you guys to see, you know, yourselves in the camera or to see anything else up in the room, so it's kind of hard to, you know, show off these colors. But here are the shades. Let me tell you why I was wrong about this palette. Once again, I thought that maybe these shades weren't going to be for me, or maybe that the formula was going to be good, but the shades weren't going to be the color for me. I decided to pull this one out because I'm like, it is fall. This palette's giving fall. The stories, the color story of this, it's fall. How do you look at this and not think, wow, this is a fall palette? And for some people who maybe were, you know, not very excited about his gothic palette, I think you might like this one. But the thing I think that surprised me the most, and this has never happened to me, ever. Like, I can't think of a single palette where I'm like, oh, that one. In this palette, I prefer the lighter shades. If you watched some of my other videos, one of my #1 complaints is always like, the colors are too light. They don't show up on me. I'm light medium, and those colors don't look good on me. They disappear on my skin tone. In this palette, I prefer this lighter side. I thought it looked so beautiful. It really went well with my tone of skin, and I was so surprised. I think this darker side was okay. The standout shade, oh my god, pale in comparison, gorgeous, gorgeous. I already knew what was waiting for me, because this shade looked like the same white shade in Blood Money. And in Blood Money, it looks like a white, and you apply it on your eye, and it like shimmers into a green. And for this one, it's the same thing. In the palette, it looks like a white. You try it on your skin, and then you realize, oh, it actually has an orange shimmer. It's so beautiful. Glimmer of Hope also worked. Glimmer of Hope and Unblended seem to be the same kind of formula. They worked so well, so beautiful. Same with Pale in Comparison and Fashion Whore. Those two also seem to be, well, I guess more Fashion Whore and Pulp Addiction seem to be in the same kind of shimmer formula. This row, and like this entire row, like the rest are all mattes. I did have one issue with this palette, and it's the only thing that kind of tripped me up. Firstly, Slice Me Open and Double Cross are very hard pressed. That's not necessarily anything bad. I was able to get color out of it. I just wanted to note it, because usually when you dip into a color like this, into his mattes, like you can tell, I'm not sure if you can see on camera, like you can tell like I've dipped into these other shades. Like you see the little brush strokes in this. Slice Me Open and Double Cross are so hard pressed, they look completely unused, but I promise you that I did use them. I'm like, that's just so crazy that I literally dipped into both of these shades and they don't even look like I touched them, but I did. And you can see here on these, like, the lighter ones, I feel like you can see, like, the brush strokes and maybe the star's not as clear as it was before. You can see that, but not for those. Biggest issue, Deadly Intentions, this sparkly, sparkly black. You see that sparkle? I don't know if it's because it has the sparkle in this black, but I found this black, I wouldn't say extremely difficult, but I would say I had to really work with this black because it just seemed to not really want to blend out the way I wanted it to. Ultimately, I figured out that if I just used the tiniest bit, I could move that around a little bit more, but overall, it was quite difficult to use the black. So that one was probably my least favorite color in this palette. I watched a couple other reviews before and during when I was using this palette. I just wanted to see what other people were going to say. I watched one where she was very pale, and her complaint was that these colors looked very neon on her, so I did want to bring that up. If maybe you're a very pale person, these colors might look very intense on you. I think the overall consensus is that people really loved this. This palette came out like 2 years ago, and I think that if we hadn't been in a pandemic and, you know, not really wearing makeup at the time, this would have been a huge hit because this screams fall. This screams October. It's literally circular. It reminds me of a pumpkin, you know what I mean? And it has some very beautiful colors in here. So I want to swatch my 3 favorite shimmers, and we'll do 3 favorite mattes. So of course, we're going to start with Pale in Comparison. I have to show you this wet to orange color. It's absolutely beautiful. And then we're going to do Unblunted. Ooh, she is soft. She's so soft. Okay, I need to be careful with that one. And then I want to show Glimmer of Hope. I just wanted to bring something up. These, which is annoying to me, because I think that if I can't apply a shimmer with a brush, it's honestly not that good of a shimmer. So while I do want to say I do love these, I was a bit annoyed to find that these shimmers apply way better with my fingers. The brush wasn't too much help, but I did want to point that out. Can you see that on this Pale in Comparison? That it has it changes orange a little bit. So let's do that. This is Pale in Comparison. And it should have like an orange reflect. And then this is Unblunted. Ooh, girl. Ooh. In the pan, it looks kind of like a bronzy brown. Once applied, it turns into like this beautiful like bronze orange. It's just kind of giving like rusted orange in it. I just love these 2 colors together. It's like those like kind of like farmhouse vibes, you know what I mean? It's so pretty. And here's Glimmer of Hope. Oh, so good. Oh, I think I accidentally got some of the other one in it. Look at that. Look at that shimmer. These are so good. Again, a bit bummed out that these work a lot better with the finger, but once applied to the eye, I feel like these lasted a good amount. I think, from what I remember, these lasted a little longer than my typical eyeshadows. Just a little longer. I think when I used specifically the Unblunted, I believe it was. I think Unblunted with the rest of, some other shades lasted about 8 hours, and it pretty much looked almost the same as when I had originally applied it. Did want to mention that. Another thing I wanted to mention about this that, I don't want to say I had an issue with it, but I do want to point it out. Forced and Orange Fatale, it's like a, let's see, it's a like red-orange color, and then just a very bright, like almost Cheeto orange level kind of color on the eye. I feel like it looked the same. I feel like it was giving the same kind of color on the eye. I used Orange Fatale and I was like, oh, I'll deepen it up a little bit more with Forged, and it kind of ended up looking the same. I feel like they were kind of almost interchangeable, so I just wanted to point that out. But let's try some mattes. Let's see, I remember quite liking Mysterious Circumstances. And then I'll do Thorny. And then I think I'll do Slice Me Open. Ooh. So we go Mysterious Circumstances, Thorny, and Slice Me Open. So here we go with Mysterious Circumstances. Wow. In the pan, this is on like the lighter side, and it's like really crazy good on the hand. Here is Thorny. The way the colors, I don't know, the way it looks in the pan just is not the way it actually applies. It is so pretty. And then we have Slice Me Open. Wow. Look at that. Let me grab a little bit of more, build it up a little more. Ooh. Look at that. They're so pigmented, and I actually believe, let me look at the back of the box. This does have pressed pigments into it, so be careful with that. If you have an issue with having overly sensitive eyes, where you hate when colors, you know, stain your eyes, I'm pretty sure these would probably stain your eyes. I don't really care because I wear makeup pretty much every day, so it's gonna get covered by concealer and then other eyeshadow. But overall, I found myself loving this palette way more than I thought I was going to. Again, I thought same thing as like the Star Wedding palette. I thought, okay, like these orange shades aren't going to be, you know, really stand out amongst the rest of my orange collection, because I found once I pulled out the collection for you guys to watch, which you can go watch that video, a lot of my collection is yellows, greens, and oranges. I don't know why. I never realized it until I pulled them out and I looked at them all and I'm like, wow, I have a trend of colors. But overall, this is such a beautiful palette. I think that if you're not vibing with the Gothic Beach and you want that fall palette from Jeffree Star, this is the fall palette from Jeffree Star. This is so beautiful. The swatches are so great. My only issue is Deadly Attentions. But I think overall, man, this has got to be maybe my 6th palette overall. I think I'd have to retry some other palettes, but when I think about, you know, my favorite palettes, which is like Blood Money, Cremated, that Star Wedding palette is freaking gorge. Jawbreaker. This takes like 5th or 6th place. This is definitely up there as one of the best palettes he's put out. He's been putting out really good formula recently. I think eventually once he marks down that Gothic palette, I have so many palettes right now. If I ever see that Gothic palette marked down, I think I'd grab it, because I think once you receive it in person, you start to actually play with it. I think your initial reaction is to be like, those shades don't work, I don't like them. But then once you try his formula and start playing around with it and getting inspired, you'll realize, like, this is a beautiful palette. And this is the second time this has happened recently. This is a beautiful palette. 100% recommend. This is gorgeous. This is the best fall palette ever. You'll have a great day.